Welcome to Healing Echoes. Today we have with us Tonya. In March 2007, Tonya received a diagnosis of uterine carcinosarcoma and embarked on a deeply personal journey with diagnosis to survivorship. Embracing her path with dignity and grace, she took control of her mindset and built a strong support team and integrated alternative wellness modalities alongside her medical treatment, discovering the transformative power of transitioning from mere survival to thriving. Tonya's own experiences have inspired her to share her knowledge and guide others through the challenges of a devastating diagnosis. Recognizing the need for resources during her own cancer journey, she has created the very support system she wished she had. With over 30 years of herbal studies, certification as an aromatherapist, Reiki master, certification, and ordination through the Universal Life Church, Tonya possesses a wealth of knowledge. Additionally, she serves as the founder and director of Circle Haven Coven, a spiritual group practicing holistic spirituality. Leveraging her more than 40 years of spiritual practices, Tonya skillfully helps individuals harmonize their mind, body, and spirit, leading them towards a place of inner balance. Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Pretty good. I want to start the conversation today with you just kind of telling us about when you got the initial diagnosis and what that was like, right off the bat, like how that kind of impacted your life.
Uh, well, you know, you're not ever prepared for your doctor to say you have cancer.
Mm,
And I, like many people who have received that diagnosis, don't hear anything else that the doctor says and just sort of time stops really, and the doctor sounds like Snoopy's teacher, womp 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 womp, right? Like you don't hear anything else that they say once
right.
you get that kind of diagnosis. Fortunately for me, I had a good friend who was an RN, and she saw the writing on the wall, and she took me to this appointment, and she was there to listen to all of the things the doctor had to say.
Mm,
And when we got back to her house, she sat me down and she's like, okay, be mad, scream at God, cry, do everything that you need to do to be mad about this right now. But tomorrow we wake up and we kick cancer's ass.
right.
That's what we did, right?
Mm,
Like, so a healthy uterus is 4 ounces.
mm-hmm.
When they eventually took mine out, it was over 10 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And everybody, including oncologists, believe that there are always cancer markers in your blood. That is
Mm-hmm.
incorrect.
Right.
It's absolutely patently incorrect. I'm going to tell everybody that you need to advocate for yourself. If you feel like there's something wrong with your body, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
And even if your tests come back fine, inconclusive, or whatever, keep pushing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to really be that advocate for yourself, especially I feel like, unfortunately, as a woman in the healthcare, you really have to advocate for yourself.
A- Absolutely. And lucky for me, my gynecologist was absolutely willing to do that. But the pap smear was fine. The
Mm,
ultrasound, the transvaginal ultrasound, all of that came back fine.
right.
Blood work was fine. They did something called a sonohistogram, which
Mm-hmm.
is where they inflate the uterus with saline and then image it.
Mm-hmm.
That came back fine. They actually had to do a D&C to find my cancer, and there
Wow.
was 10 pounds of it in my body. So
Yeah.
that's kind of something.
Yeah. You're like, it's there. I know with uterine and then with like ovarian cancer, that's what I'm hearing a lot is that like the regular testing they do for cancers don't really catch it. And so that's why you really have to advocate if you feel like something's wrong. Otherwise, it's going to go unnoticed for so long.
Yes, and respect the symptoms, respect the change in your body. If your periods are this way and then suddenly there's something different,
Right.
that's an indication. It's subtle, but that's an indication. You're getting weird pains, you're getting whatever, right? If anything changes about your normal function,
Mm-hmm.
then yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely look into it.
Yeah, definitely. And then I wanted to ask, like, what were some of like your biggest challenges in your journey, if you don't mind sharing?
I would absolutely, like, that's the entire point of having conversations like this, the entire point of why I do this. When you are told that you're going to lose your hair,
Mm-hmm.
everybody just assumes the hair on your head, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I got to rock a mohawk at the age of 38, right? Like for a little
Yeah.
while. And the night before I went in for my first chemo treatment, we shaved the rest of my hair. But for me, my my treatment had to be inpatient
Mm-hmm.
because the toxicity of the chemo was so bad, they had to give me what's called rescue drugs
Mm-hmm.
before, during, and after. And if you're receiving treatment for longer than 12 hours, you have to be inpatient. So
Mm-hmm.
I would stay inpatient for 4 days and then go home. So I was super excited to go home and take a shower, right? Like
Right.
that was the first thing literally the first thing I did. And I took my shower and I ended up with all of my pubic hair in my hand and I broke
Oh,
down and
wow.
cried for 45 minutes because
Yeah.
it's just hair, right? But like I hadn't, which is silly, right? Like common sense says, but common sense goes right out the window the second you get this diagnosis.
Yeah.
So if I could spare one person that
Yeah.
pain, awesome. They don't tell you that you might lose your teeth.
Mm.
Radiation does things to your teeth. Radiation, especially if it's abdominal radiation, makes any kind of voiding. You don't get the notice you're used to, right? Like
Right.
your body's like, oh, you have to poop. You have like 15 minutes. No, nope,
No.
nope, nope. You have to poop. You have 2 steps,
Yeah.
and that's super humiliating, right? When you're
Right.
grocery shopping and you're like, and then now you have poop in your pants. I call them poopsidents. And working on the mindset about that, like, because that's super frustrating, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
so having to just work through that and get to a point where you're like, okay, fine, all right, here's my kit with the change clothes, the baby wipes, and all of that, right? Like, it happens, and the more we talk about bodily functions and things that happen as side effects to diseases, chronic illnesses, or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
it's part of the human experience. Um, they give you all of these forms that, with teeny writing, your side effects may or may not be in there. Like I'm sure it's in there, but they don't talk to
Right.
you about what that is. They don't talk to you about the fact that you're probably going to have some sort of sexual dysfunction. They don't talk to you about they don't talk to you about what might happen to you if you survive the
Right.
treatment. And not that I didn't allow uh expiration dates or things like that, but based on the diagnosis I had about a 5% chance of survival.
Wow.
And for me, the most impactful thing that I did every day was when I got up, I visualized when I was changing my underwear that I was putting on Wonder Woman's panties because Wonder Woman doesn't die,
Right.
which is why I call my podcast Power Pantaloons, because the first thing you have to get right
Mm-hmm.
is your mindset.
Right.
Because whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Like
Mm-hmm.
whether you want to attribute that to Thomas Ford or Confucius, whoever, right? Like, but it's true.
Yeah.
I have absolutely seen people just, okay, that's my diagnosis. I'm gonna die, and then just die.
Right.
Right? Not me. No.
Yeah. They hear it and they kind of just give up immediately. Um,
Yes.
I'm glad that you referenced the name of your podcast, because when we did our initial, I was actually going to ask, because obviously it's attention catching. I'm like, there's got to be a story behind that. So I absolutely love that.
I was like, I'm helping people. It has to sound serious and businesslike. Power Pantaloons. Like it's authentically me. It is
Yeah.
literally the thing that saved my life during that period of my
Yeah.
time, because it allowed me to have hope. It like
Yeah.
it really was my armor,
Yeah.
for lack of a better word, right?
Yeah. And it makes, like you said, it's not only you, but I think it makes you more relatable. There people that have these diagnoses are going through enough. So kind of already knowing from the get-go that they're going to be talking to someone who's down to earth and uses humor to kind of take the weight off of things and
Enough to.
just really real. Like you were saying, like they don't tell you this. I think the only things I've ever really heard about radiation or chemo or any form of treatment is the hair loss on your head and then like, getting really, really sick, having to throw up. Those are the only two like side effects I've ever heard of. And I've had numerous friends and family get cancers of different sorts or different types and get treatments. Nobody talks about anything else.
I have learned so much about other kinds of cancer
Hmm.
interviewing other survivors.
Wow.
I've learned about breast cancers and the lymphedema and the sleeves and they have binders that you get, like camisoles that are like binders for
Hmm.
after your mastectomy. I was like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know
Yeah, I
that,
didn't
right?
know that.
Speaking with several men who are survivors of anal cancer and prostate cancer. I've learned that there's such thing as dry ejaculation,
Hmm.
because the the targeted radiation burned out the the semen, because the semen and sperm are two different things. I didn't know that either.
You're like, what?
Really? What? Um,
Yeah, just
and
burned it out. Goodness gracious.
right, and that the other one was telling me that the treatment made his penis smaller. I was like, what?
You're like,
Like,
that's
and
possible?
they certainly don't. Right, they don't tell you this stuff.
No.
I don't think they know that these are things, because they don't do any follow-up to ask, like, what happened, right?
Right. Well, how are you doing? What are you going through? And because they don't talk about it, it's like when it does happen to real people, it makes it so much harder to cope with it because
Yeah,
it's not something you were even expecting as a possibility. So it's like, oh, this is happening. This is great. What do I do with this?
exactly. And a lot of us just turn to telling our stories, which is empowering.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where the healing lies, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you have an idea of what might happen, you'll be a little better equipped. You can't be equipped. Like,
Mm.
there's nothing, nobody can prepare you for a cancer journey or a story or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
I was speaking with a woman last night and she was like, it's not a cancer journey. Cancer gets to sit in the back seat. It's only going to be here for a minute. I'm driving this bus, and
Right.
it does not get a starring role. And I was like,
No.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Showing up to radiation with a different color wig every day. Everybody in the office is taking bets on what color it's going to be. You have to you have to demonize it. You
Hmm.
have to add comedy for you, right? Like,
Yeah.
you have to make the journey easier
Yeah.
in whatever way that is. Whether
Yeah.
it's having stuffed animals, because I have stuffies. We're allowed to have stuffies. We're
Yeah.
allowed to have uh, comfort items, especially if you're having radiation.
Hmm.
Nobody can go in there with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So bring your little stuffed animal. I have a
Yeah.
little. He's he's an ugly doll. His name is Big Toe, and he's 16 now, right? Like, this
Right.
little 4-inch little blue Muppet is
Whatever brings you comfort. I know, I didn't know that either, that nobody was allowed there, back there with you. One of my really good friends, she's like a sister to me. Her mother, is going through treatment right now, and they didn't know until her first treatment that she'd have to spend 4 hours back there by herself. So now they know and they can prepare to give her things to do and keep her occupied. But like she was expecting to get to sit there with her mom and offer her comfort. And it was like a rude awakening that like you can't. So anything that like Don't let people judge you. I don't care if they're stuffed
Right.
animals. If it brings you comfort, bring it.
Exactly. Like, and wear the silly outfits.
Yeah.
I literally showed up for round one of radiation, head to toe in Barbie pink, including the bouffant I Dream of Jeannie wig, right?
Ah,
Like
love it.
the Hello Kitty pocketbook and the rhinestone pink, the flippy flops, right? Like
Yeah,
you have to be in the best mindset you possibly can because of all of the toxins that they're putting into your body.
yeah,
Everything that you can use to fight it.
definitely. So, what point in your journey did you decide that you wanted to take it and help other people? How did you get there?
So it was last year actually when I had another cancer scare.
Hmm.
And that's how I found out that um hematology blood oncologists
Hmm.
believe that there are always markers in the blood, because
Right.
she did my blood work and she's like, there's nothing here, so you're
Yeah.
good. And I looked at her and I said, I had 10 pounds of cancer in my body 16 years ago and there were no markers in my blood. And
Yeah.
the look on her face was like I punched her. Like she was so shocked by that. And this was her specialty.
Yeah.
This is her specialty. And she was blown away by what I said. And I was like, okay, so that if me teaching her that one thing saves somebody's life because now she knows that's a thing,
Mm-hmm.
this is a thing I need to do, right? Like deity likes to give you subtle hints in the beginning, and the
Hmm.
more you avoid it, the more 4x4-ish the back of the head you get. So
Yeah.
I saw that really as a, we gave you all of this knowledge and you're not sharing it, you're not teaching it, you're being selfish. So
Right.
hello. So that's when I decided to go all in and start a podcast and start um consulting and public speaking and all of that.
That's beautiful. I mean, even just talking to you myself, obviously I don't have a cancer diagnosis, but still sharing the knowledge with me, now I can share it with other people. I've learned so much already. Um,
Fantastic.
I think it's kind of funny. It's like a because scientists really do love facts and they love the absolutes. But what I'm learning, especially with my own health issues, because I have a couple chronic conditions, is that there's no absolutes in healthcare. Like the body does not do it only works this way, it only works that way. It does what it wants. You better check all across all your T's and dot all your I's because you never know.
There is no user manual.
Yeah,
Every model is different.
exactly.
They might have similar functionalities, but every
Yeah.
model is completely different and it works differently. What might which is part of, so the holistic wellness modalities like
Hmm.
Reiki, aromatherapy, flower essences, or herbalism, grounding, all of that stuff. So like I help people create blueprints. You instinctively know what you want. So like if I
Yeah.
say to you cannabis and you go, that clearly is a thing that's not going to help you in your journey,
Right.
right? But if I say to you flower essence and you're like, what's that? And you have like a curiosity towards it, and
Yeah.
I'm like, well, what do you think about lavender? And if you're like, so that, all right, so no lavender, but how
Right.
about like, so you know
Yeah.
what your body tells you. Sometimes it's very, very subtle, and sometimes it's like a hammer across the head.
Right.
So you just have to keep figuring it out. It's taken me way too many years to figure out how to finally release the weight. I've lost 75 pounds in the last year and a half.
That's awesome.
Thank you. And it, like, it's a thing I should have been doing while I was going through my cancer journey, right? Because
Right.
mindset, nutrition, right? But
Yeah.
I did not. I'll admit it. I was horrible with that. But talk about sugar, right?
Mhm.
And it's just like that feeds cancer. It literally
It
feeds
does,
cancer. And
unfortunately.
you look at how glucose spikes, and uh the number of diabetics that end up with cancer, and
Yeah.
start to see correlations there,
Hmm.
and you're like,
Yeah.
maybe we should all stop. Like, sugar
Yeah.
is one of the it's more addictive than cocaine, right?
Yep.
And yet we're allowed to have it.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, the diabetes runs in my family. I've been pre-diabetic numerous times. I had gestational diabetes with both my pregnancies. So actually knowing that I had you to interview today, me and my husband were talking about it last night, the correlation between diabetes and cancer. And he's like, "Oh, why haven't we put that together before?" I'm like, "I don't know. I think it's denial. I think people don't want to give up their sugar." It's so, like you said, it's addicting. So it's like, no, it's in everything.
I'm day 2 without gratuitous sugar,
Yeah.
so I've stopped drinking the coffee, and I'm like, "Ugh." But it's
Yeah.
the next step in my evolution, right? Like, we just,
Yeah.
and it's every day you start over, you get to
Yeah.
try again to be better about how you
Showing
navigate
that grace to
in your
yourself.
meat
Yeah.
suit.
Definitely. I love that you said that. That's what I call it. It always throws people off a little bit. I'm like, that's all it is. It's just a meat suit.
We're stardust. We're
Yeah.
we're 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 God energy. We're
Yeah. When people realize that, it'll start to piece together a little bit more. Um, well, I wanted to give you an opportunity to share anything else that you wanted to say, any encouraging words, and then any way that people can reach out to you if they wish.
absolutely. So my encouraging words are, get your mind right. Absolutely. Whether it's under Wonder Woman's underwear or a grandma's apron, because grandma's the most stubborn person on the planet. So and it could be a physical thing. You could literally go buy something that represents it, or you could just visualize it. But
Right.
getting your mind right is absolutely top notch. And the other thing that I really, really want to stress is, listen to what your body is telling you.
Mm,
And you are absolutely 1000% allowed to fire your doctor and go find somebody that will listen to you.
amen.
And you can find me right here, Linktree.
Oh, it is right there.
All my stuff is there, all of my social media, and I do have a free gift for your audience. It's the 2 essential oils that I used every day and that they should use every day. It helps reduce stress and anxiety, and
Awesome.
it's a nice little PDF.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you coming on and sharing. I think what you're doing is absolutely amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.